Jay Jaffe joins us talking baseball and beer with our weekly Wednesday spot. Jay from Fangraphs.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at J_Jaffe. I'll tell you what, there is no better background than looking at you from Yankee Stadium. And it looks like a packed house at Yankee Stadium. Very nice, Jay.
Yeah, a little artifice here just to obscure how untidy my office is, but I'm kind of stylish.
I like it. First off, we can't even tell what the office looks like because of the stadium. It looks good. You look like you're as dapper as ever. I like that too. So that's very cool.
Okay, show off my new Evans flannel Salt Lake Bees shirt here.
Oh, very nice. Oh, and it even says Pacific Coast League. Was it 1958, Jay?
58, yeah.
All right. Long before you and I were around is what that shirt signifies.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. We got a lot to cover on the show. By the way, let's get right to it because you have started your replacement level killer stories up at Fangraphs.com. In fact, you introduced it earlier in the week with first base. Then you went on to catcher and second base. And then today, shortstop and third base. For readers of Fangraphs and your material that have never checked out replacement level killers, how would you best like to describe that for them?
All right. These are the positions at which the contending teams are getting the worst production, replacement level production, essentially. The idea is that a replacement level player is somebody who should be easily replaced. You can do better than this by, either within your system or going out and getting a trade. And the trade deadline, I think, provides a good opportunity for these teams to shore up these situations, because you don't want an easily fixable problem or even a more difficult fixable problem to cost you a playoff spot. So this is kind of going around the league and picking out all of the really the areas that teams are struggling. And, fringe teams often have more of those areas. But I'm writing about the Yankees. They've popped up on the list a few times already here. The Mariners, Cleveland. There's just it's kind of fun to pick on these teams, I have to admit. This is a series that I started back when I was at Baseball Prospectus for a 2007 book called It Ain't Over. And it's a concept that I've revived at first at Sports Illustrated, now at Fangraphs. And readers seem to enjoy it. And I like putting it together. It makes for a good trade deadline preview.
Is it hard to believe that replacement level killers is almost 15 years old? Does that kind of freak you out when you start to think about it?
Yeah, it does. I haven't done it. It's kind of come and gone. It's not something that I've done every single year the way I have Jaws, which is getting closer to 20. Yeah. But it's still it's one of those things that I guess has had a concept that's had some staying power, and I appreciate that.
No doubt about it. Jay, also, I got to ask you, since we're talking about teams getting replacement level production and kind of the preview to the deadline, it seems like the Braves are the first team that's really gotten a jump on trying to get some help. First, Jock Peterson last week, and then Stephen Vogt, who they also acquired to play some catcher. And the Braves, they want to catch the Mets. They feel like the NL East is still very much for the taking. And, I wonder, when you look at a guy like Peterson, especially with the Acuna injury, is he someone that you feel can definitely provide some pop and try to keep that team offensively in the race?
I don't think Jock Peterson's going to be enough, to be honest with you. I mean, look, you cannot adequately replace Ronald Acuna. And we're talking about a team that has not only lost its best player by far, well, maybe not by far, but certainly the best player having the best season. Freddie Freeman, last year was MVP, but has not played up to that standard this year. They also lost Marcell Ozuna to first to an injury and then to a domestic violence allegation. And I don't think they can expect him back this year. Mike Soroka, whom they hoped would return from an Achilles injury, did not. So they've suffered some major blows. Peterson is a really solid platoon player who helped the Dodgers to 3 World Series. And when he went to the Cubs, they said that they were going to play him regularly every day. And, his weaknesses against left-handed pitching were exposed. He really is a solid platoon player. He's probably not an everyday guy. He certainly has some pop, but, he's got his flaws too. And I think he's better than what the Braves had on hand once Acuna went down, but he's not gonna make anybody forget this team is missing its superstar.
Well, meanwhile, the Braves lost to the Padres for the first of a twin bill, and then they're playing the second game, and already San Diego's jumped out to a 5-3 lead right now on Bryce Wilson and getting it done offensively here in the second game of this series. So you're right. Peterson is somebody that's now playing right field. He's leading off, but you're going to probably have to hit better than 234 in order to have a big impact. And if you go deeper, outside of really Freddie Freeman, and then you could say to some extent Albies and Riley, there's not a lot of big offensive threats right now in that Braves lineup.
Yeah, it's it really has suffered with the loss of Ozuna was took, because I mean, when you had the top of that lineup, Acuna, Ozuna, and Freeman in whatever order, that was just a murderer's row. The Dodgers really had their hands full getting through that trio back in the NLCS last year. Albies, obviously a very good player too. Dansby Swanson has had kind of his ups and downs in his brief major league career. He hasn't really developed into the kind of player you expect out of that 1-1 slot. Last I checked, he was doing a bit better than he was at the start of the year, but not really a guy who's going to carry the team right now. They've got positions that they just haven't really fully solved. The rest of their outfield is kind of in disarray right now, and they're when they once seemed to have just endless pitching prospects, now the well seems to have run dry, and they're just they're a sub 500 team who if they had all their stars, I think would be contending for the NL East lead, but it hasn't worked out that way.
I agree with you. Jay Jaffe with us here on Sports Talk. We're talking baseball, and a little bit later we'll talk some beer with him as well. Hey, look, the Rangers have lost 7 in a row. They are just in a tailspin right now. I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when they decide to trade Joey Gallo. We keep hearing they are already discussing him with certain teams, trying to get the best package possible. I hear a lot that the Padres are really in the mix. They still have a lot of good minor leaguers that they could offer up, and I could see San Diego being aggressive in trying to make that trade, despite the fact that they've got Will Myers, Tommy Pham, and also Trent Grisham. They've never shied away from adding a big bat when given an opportunity.
Yeah, and add to that the fact that they've been pretty dissatisfied with the direction Eric Hosmer's given him at first base, and Gallo can play first as well. He's probably, he's probably an asset at any of the outfield positions, as well as first base. That's big, and that really opens up the number of teams who could use him. I mean, another one we're hearing a lot more about lately, besides the Padres, is the Yankees. They've gotten nothing in left field. They actually wrote their replacement level killers capsule for that. They made the list as well when it came to first base. They just lost Luke Voigt to the injured list for the third time this season. So Gallo's a guy who could fit there. He would satisfy the fact that they don't have much in the way of left-handed bats in the lineup. Extra year of club control. There's a lot to like about him as a potential acquisition.
You're right. And I'm happy you mentioned, the Yankees being aggressive too, in addition to perhaps the Padres. The Braves have already made a couple of trades. They need to make some more. Who else do you think has a chance to really be aggressive at the deadline? Could we see the Nats make some moves, and possibly the Blue Jays out there in the AL East? What do you think? Which teams have a chance to really be buyers?
I think both the Mets and the Blue Jays are teams that are going to be aggressive about starting pitching. Everybody's waiting to see if the Nationals slide further this week and put Max Scherzer on the market, but he really controls where he's going. He's got 10-5 rights, and he's it's been said via Scott Boras that he's going to want an extension if he's going to agree to a trade. That there's that aspect of it. Obviously, the Rangers, Kyle Gibson's a name that comes up. Question, whether the Twins will deal Jose Barrios. Those are names that we're going to see floating around, especially with those two teams being in the hunt for starting pitching. Dodgers probably in the hunt for starters as well.
If you had to predict the biggest name that's going to be moved by the deadline, who do you think it's going to be?
Chris Bryant, I think, is probably the best guess. I mean, the Cubs. Question is whether they're going to deal Bryant, Baez, and Sorry, I've got a I've got a 3 foot audience here in my background here. She just ran off.
You thinking of
Bryant Baez and Anthony
Contreras?
Rizzo.
Oh, Rizzo. Okay, Rizzo.
Yeah,
Yes.
Anthony Rizzo. But of those, Bryant is probably the most likely to leave because they've been year to year on him. They had that grievance that went against him, cost him a year of service time, and delayed his free agency. Probably for the best, when you think about how bad he was last year. But still, that was not. In the view of a lot of people within the industry, that was not kosher the way they handled it back in 2015. So I expect he's going to be the biggest bat moved. I don't know, whether we're actually going to see Scherzer moved or if the Nationals are ready to throw in the towel.
As we continue here on Sports Talk, Jay Jaffe back with us talking baseball and beer from Fangraphs.com. Saw the news today that Spencer Turnbull is going to undergo Tommy John surgery. He is probably going to be out not just for the rest of this season, but probably all of next year. And this is a tough blow. I mean, he's 28 years old. He only had 9 starts, but pitched very well for the Tigers, had a no-hitter, and obviously, one of the guys that everybody was counting on to help with that young staff, guys like Casey Mize and Manning that are breaking in this year. But unfortunately, Jay, it'll have to be probably 2023 before we see the name Spencer Turnbull again. Yeah,
it's really unfortunate. I mean, he had been there through some lean years with the Tigers. In 2019, he went 3-17 with a 4.61 ERA. Was never that bad a pitcher, but obviously this year he had one of the seemingly dozen no hitters that came around. A nice little feather in his cap. But I have to think he might be the first pitcher ever to throw a no hitter and then lose the rest of his season to Tommy John surgery somewhere along the way. I'm struggling to think of anybody else who fits in that bin. And it wasn't like he had an exorbitant pitch count in that game. So I'm saddened at the news about that. It does seem it looks like they've brought up Matt Manning, who has been regarded, at least on the prospect list at Fangraphs and some other places, as a better prospect than either Casey Mize or Tarek Skubal. So it should be interesting to see where that goes. As for Turnbull, yeah, I think in all likelihood he's going to miss a good chunk of next year. But a lot of times guys who undergo midseason Tommy John surgery are able to make it back for September, especially if the stakes are low. I'd hope for his sake that he gets to do that because that could lend a pitcher some peace of mind as he goes to the offseason coming back from TJ.
There are 3 guys looking to come back from TJ who could all be factors here in the next couple of months. The obvious one is Chris Sale with the Boston Red Sox as he keeps mowing them down in his rehab starts. Assuming Noah Syndergaard and Luis Severino can get over their injuries, they could also be factors. And those are 3 very big names for the Red Sox, Yankees, and Mets.
Yeah, sounds like Sale's getting pretty close. I suspect we'll see him with the Red Sox in August, and they could certainly use the infusion to bolster their AL East chances. Both Syndergaard and Severino have had setbacks. Everybody expected them to be in the rotation by July, their respective rotations by July, but each has had some additional issues. And with the Mets, pair that with the forearm inflammation of Jacob deGrom, and obviously there's some nervous times over in Queens. The Mets have said they're going to be aggressive about going after starting pitching, like I said before in the previous segment. As for the Yankees, Severino was just one of the many risks that they took between Corey Kluber, Severino, Domingo Germán, and I'm blanking on one other. And Taillon. Yeah, Jameson Taillon. They got one major league inning out of those guys last year, and they were banking on all of them to be key contributors. And Kluber was good, but and he threw a no hitter before going down. But Taillon's been pretty uneven. Obviously, and Germán's been okay at the back of the rotation. They haven't gotten anything yet out of Severino, but that's been one of their problems this year.
All right. What do you have? Are you going to continue the replacement level killers for us on Fangraphs this week, Jay?
Yes, I've got I have got the left field and right field entries tomorrow. So corner outfield tomorrow, and then on Friday, center fielders and DHs. And then next week, I'll be more deadline focused. Got a couple ideas for some players to profile. Also looking to do something on the Negro Leagues and the Hall of Fame. I've got a question out there to the Hall of Fame about whether the early baseball era committee panel is going to be rethought a little bit in reaction to the news about Major League Baseball, considering the Negro Leagues from 1920 to 48 as being Major League play, and how the Hall is going to react to that, because the Hall has not considered any Negro Leagues candidates since the 2006 special election, where they elected 17, and there are some players who have certainly benefited from the additional research there. So I'm interested to see what the Hall's reaction is here, because I think this is a potentially hot button issue.
Any interest in the Tokyo Olympics for baseball when that gets underway here soon?
Yeah, I'm sure I'll check them out. It's kind of intriguing to see. I mean, some of these past prime veterans who are just really jazzed up to represent their country. Guys like Todd Frazier and David Robertson and Edwin Jackson, who know this might be their last hurrah in baseball, but a worthy one to pursue a gold medal. And it's not every day you get to see other countries and their national baseball teams. I'm looking forward to Japan. I know they've got Masahiro Tanaka in tow. I'm excited for Team Israel, which is making it to the Olympics for the first time. So I'm eager to see what happens here. We actually had a good preview up at Fangraphs today that anybody who's interested in the Tokyo Games, one of our new contributors here, Tess Teruskin, who's got pretty into it here. Dominican Republic, Israel, Mexico, South Korea, Japan. She did a little capsule summaries of each team.
Nice.
Besides the U.S. and it should be of interest to readers.
Fantastic. Let's wrap it up. Beer pick of the week. What would you like to profile, Jay?
All right. Speaking of Hall of Fame, I have one from Omegang here. I hope it shows up with the green screening that goes on with this background thing.
That is kind of
neon.
It's kind of psychedelic, Jay. I like the way you did that. It's when people see our YouTube feed, they'll understand. But I like the can. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, it's called Neon Rainbows. It's a New England style IPA. It comes in at 6.7% ABV. It is typical hazy IPA. This one has Citra, Centennial, Simcoe, Mosaic, and Topaz hops. All hops that you've probably heard of, except maybe for Topaz. A nice creamy tropical fruity IPA. I quite enjoyed it. This was the first time I'd ever had it, but my wife picked it up at Trader Joe's. So hopefully it gets some circulation. You're able to get Omegang down there?
We are able to get Omegang down there. That's
all right.
I think Three Philosophers is Omegang, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So look for this. It's one that should be available in your neck of the woods.
Give us the name of it again, and we'll keep an eye out for it.
Neon Rainbows.
And it's a rainbow can, right?
Yeah, it's a rainbow colored can, and I'll hold it up one more time. I hope the green screen doesn't mess it up. Oh boy, it's.
There we go. Now nice angling, Jay. Excellent. You're having to work this week on the beer segment, but good job. I enjoyed it, and I'll be looking for that can after the show today. Great job as always.
All right, thanks a lot, Steve. Take care.